Come on, Brexit's going to be delivered before. Oh, no, hang on. Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome, Property World. Welcome to the 20th season of the Kerfuffle podcast. Here on time, as ever, my colleague, my mentor, my muse, Mr. Mintz. Hello, David.
Thanks for having me, Simon.
We said we'd never talk about that. And to show that we do this in the way that the Neg would introduce things, the lady coming up next, last of all, Megan. Hello, Megan. How are you?
I'm punching above my weight as always, being with you boys.
Oh, she went there. Not like Watkins yesterday, trying to appeal to the younger demographic, thinking that 20-year-olds would be on Facebook. No, we're here talking about the big issues and everything else there. Mr. Mintz, that's my resume. I didn't get any notes, so I'm done now. Do you want to take over?
Can I just say, I think this is the first time that you've been back on camera officially in front of the Kerfuffle podcast since your entire liver cancer hoax thing.
God, David, what have you done and told everyone I had cancer for now? That's
I thought it was a secret. Is it not a secret?
Look, no, exactly. Well, and anyway, it was Cancer Light. As I said, it wasn't. Well, hopefully, actually, I'm very nervous after having worn that shirt. Shut up, liver, you're doing fine. A few years ago, about saying any of this stuff. But yeah, it's all gone lovely, as much as you can do. I've got a belting scar, which will be my great white story going forwards, and I feel lovely. And thank you to everybody. In fact, literally blown away by how supportive everyone was being, even if they were just saying it to my face. I don't care.
It's a shame because I was watching a few clips of Shane McGowan's funeral, and I actually thought, what a lovely thing it would have been to have one for you.
It would. But you know, the thing is, that's the only reason I pulled through, because I'd want to watch it.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it. Did we not say that we were going to do karaoke either for his funeral or we were going to go to karaoke anyway? I feel like that was a conversation that we've had, David.
I think you said Simon's dying. I said karaoke. Anyone? And I think that was more the conversation.
Hansen. I'm pretty sure we've promised her karaoke, irrespective of outcome.
Okay, so anybody out there in Property World, bar my mum watching, what karaoke song would you sing at Whaley's funeral? Have either of you got a preference or? It's live radio, people.
Oh God, I haven't got time to think about this, have I? See, my classics are always, I like to do like a little rap when I do karaoke. So I like AO Technology by 50 Cent, which I don't think it would be suitable for your funeral. So
Jody, can we cut that bit? Oh no, we're live, aren't we? Sorry, I just didn't think that bit flowed as well as it should do there.
Well, maybe you should have warned us. Maybe if you turned up on time, we could have had this discussion off air.
10:09.
Well, I'm sure we could all spend all morning listening to Megan tell Simon off like a naughty schoolboy. But we're here to talk about Christmas
and Hanukkah for our Jewish friends.
More Christmas.
That's an abomination. I feel physically sick at the. I mean, we've done some outrageous things, but
Simon, you love Christmas. Look at this.
Look, I've got Christmas over my nose, though.
That's good.
We are specifically here to talk about one thing and one thing only, and that's Megan has got a list of little girls and boys.
Who's been naughty or nice this year?
Exactly. Tell us a little bit about your winter toy appeal, please.
Oh, thanks, David. I'd love to. So obviously, I've only been part of the location team this year, but they have, alongside some amazing people locally, been running a winter toy appeal for around 10 years. And we basically collect toys for kids that are, in emergency housing, from domestic violence shelters, children's centres. We're talking about the poorest kids in London. We're hoping to raise enough for 4,000 kids this year. We're about 1,000 short on that at the moment. So we are putting out our final pleas to please send toys. I don't know if Simon Well is aware that he did make a donation this week. Thank you.
He did. He made several donations.
I didn't know that. David told me.
Oh, good.
Normally, I just see the credit card bill go through and then I thought, oh, all right, okay, that's been agreed.
And by the way,
Yeah.
We bought the lucky kids a Lamborghini this week.
They were very grateful. They were so grateful. No, but joking aside, thank you so much, because we unboxed it all and oh yeah, that's all the boxes.
So Megan, that was the image I saw. Was it you posted? I mean, and that was that literally from that shout out you did from just going out on WhatsApps and everything else. There is that all from you?
That's all industry, and actually double that arrived after that photo. So I put a great video on my story of the Amazon delivery man coming through, and he was like 1, 2 and he was like, why are there so many presents? I was like, it's my birthday, people just really wanted to celebrate. So no, we literally got double that from that picture. We've done a video which we'll hopefully put out Monday of us unboxing all of it, but it took us almost half an hour just to unbox it all.
We will talk about your crimes against net zero in the next few minutes, because as a climate change denier, I know this is what you're about. That's amazing. That was this. Is this obviously you've only been there, but is this the first year they've done it location, or? No. Okay, it's amazing.
They've always been a part of it. Obviously, it's normally quite a local initiative, and we also collect money too that we use in the local shops to buy toys. So when we realized that we were so down, that's when I was like, right, I'm going to put a plea out. And to be fair, the industry listened, because we had almost 200 toys arrive within 48 hours. And I think last tally it was around £400 of money was then.
Were any of them second hand?
No, they weren't. Although to be fair, we have had offers of that. The problem we have is we'd love to run that kind of initiative of upcycling, but the problem you've got is that some people just don't know how to donate without leaving bits behind.
Yeah. Okay. No. So I just thought it might be type people like Richard Polferman doing it. Dave, you were made at the outrageously fantastic talk you did. I think we talk about it as there's a curtain raiser. Obviously, is an act that opens up something. You closed the negotiator with the best speech, obviously, and talk of the day, and you made this point, and I'm reading it off exactly what you told me to say earlier. What you made that point about, again, which we've been banging the drum for years, that nobody does more than this industry in their local communities. And there was a very funny bit that you should have probably done at Agents Giving. There was about that point that you don't see accountants sleeping out at, for homelessness. I
think the point that I was making was that we like to do ourselves in sometimes, and we over obsess about our reputation, I suppose, as an industry, and we always take for absolute gospel truth that Ipsos poll that they do, that veracity poll that they do every year, and it talks about who the most trusted professions are. But as I managed to find, I mean, we talked about what the top 3 most trusted professions were: nurses, doctors, and newsreaders. And they've
not had a good year, have they?
They've not had a great year. Not a great year. Shout out to Lucy Letby. But but that's a great example. You don't need to go too far to see that other trusted industries going off the rails ever so slightly. But you will not find any industry. I would challenge anyone to find an industry that is as active as ours in trying to do good things in their communities. And you don't need to go too far. I mean, what location are doing is fantastic, but they're just one of many that today, I mean, there are estate agents dressed up as elves, as Santas, Luke Sinclair, you've got Oliver James, there's tons of them out there.
It is.
And they're all doing their bit for their community.
Luke
you will not find
the Christmas though, doesn't he? He wears that elf costume in June. From what
it is a little bit suspect when grown men have to start dressing up as characters to attract the children. But yeah, no, I agree. But generally speaking, when you look at what our industry does and what it contributes to their communities with very little payback, other than the fact that their reputation is enhanced by being part of that community, but they're not asking for anything. They're just doing it. And I feel that goes unnoticed and unmentioned every year. So I don't think we have a reputation problem. I think we have a problem of doing ourselves in too much sometimes. And
it's maybe not consistent, is it? I mean, I think what you see is the likes of location, all these, all of Jerry's lot in his ethical club. You got Paramounts. There's a real discrepancy between those who live and breathe it, doing it week in, week out, isn't there? And those that maybe either don't do it at all. And I think that's a challenge, but that's the same everywhere. But those people, as an industry, it is absolutely fantastic. Megan, do you get to just so I understand how it actually works? Do you actually get to give these out to the children, or are they then sent in the post, forwarded on to them? How does it work?
So basically, we get given a list, and all we get is an initial, an age, a gender, and then there might be like a comment. For example, Simon likes unicorns, and so then we can look through all our stuff and allocate a unicorn thing. So some of the stuff goes directly to these. Just what you have to appreciate is some of these like like women's refuges, they are so secure that we can't come into them. So a lot of these toys will go directly to them, and they will do that. They're not wrapped. The reason why is we want the parents to feel part of this process as well, so they then can do their thing with that. But honestly, I was saying to David, what's been living in my head is there was a little girl that I shopped for, and she was 5 and she loved Disney Princess, and somebody had donated a Disney Princess kitchen, and it was massive, and I was like, I'm gonna give her the Disney Princess kitchen, and it was the pinkest princessy, which is amazing. And all I keep thinking is I cannot wait until Christmas morning when she comes down and she sees that giant pink kitchen, because it's going to be such a special moment. But what people don't realize is there's actually so much time and effort goes into this. At LL, half of our team is basically locked out to look after this. My job has purely been working with Vicky doing this this year. It's been it's incredible that people are willing to kind of down tools, essentially standing in the way of profit to really make sure that this community project goes off.
And tell us a little bit about what happened yesterday, because that's sort of almost like the cherry on the cake.
So we had yesterday the Winter Toy Story appeal party, and it was a Toy Story themed party for the local community, so people could bring toys to that as well. So we collected a load of toys there, and we had an entertainer, and we had wand making and snacks, and all the parents got to get pissed in the corner drinking free mulled wine. So everyone had a great time. Alongside that, we raised tons of toys as well. So it was a win for the appeal. It was a chance for all of our clients as well that came and saw us. And if anyone doubts that this is a total waste of time, that room was just full of our clients and people going, oh yeah, I've almost finished the kitchen, then we're going to be ready to move. There was lots of those conversations as well, which is the real bit that you don't expect when you do this kind of thing. But it was a really special, it was lovely. It was for me, I got to meet so many people I wouldn't have so far.
It was really lovely then, was it, getting pissed? That's like, you wouldn't do a dab and a Usain Bolt in front of Stephen Hawking. Why would you bring up alcohol in front of me at the moment? That's outrageous.
Simon, it was for the children.
Oh yeah, I forgot. It's about other people. Yeah, it's about other people. I forget.
So hang on, but this isn't over. You've got a cut-off date, which is the 14th, which is obviously later on this week. Yeah. But there's still a couple of days for people to get their gifts in, and you're still short, aren't you? You've still got quite a bit.
We've got 1,000. We think about 1,000. I mean, it's difficult to tally it up in advance without knowing, but we've got about 1,000 names and we're lacking.
How did you get to that? How did you just pick that out? That sounds like it sounds such a huge number to look after.
Always frozen in like a X-Men kind of way.
Am I back?
You're back. You sort of look like you were like doing a spell.
Yeah, Expelliarmus. How did you get to the number about 1,000 people? What was is it because it's a big number, isn't it?
It is. So basically, earlier in the year, we put out to the children's centres, the local authorities, the charities, and we say, what's your needs? And they then come back to us with their needs. Obviously, then when we're allocating the toys to the children, we then obviously are tallying up how many toys we've got and how many people we've got left on the list. So we think probably around, until it's done, you don't know 100%, but we think we're around 1,000 light this year. But given that we're in a cost of living crisis as well, it's tough.
Yeah.
Well, so your appeal is to the industry for anybody else out there that wants to do their bit. How do they get involved? And if they don't do it by when is it? Is it Wednesday?
We need it to arrive by Wednesday. We've got like a slight little buffer, so if it did just arrive afterwards, it'll be okay. But 14th is our kind of cutoff.
And if you don't send it by Wednesday, this dog will get it.
We get it all.
Oh my God.
Tell them how to get involved, please, Megan.
So you've got a couple of different options. We have a GoFundMe page, so you can make a donation there. I know the likes of Claire Yates, Verona, thank you so much for doing those donations. So it's really appreciative. And then we've got an Amazon gift list. If you have no idea what we need, we can do that. Or alternatively, pick a toy. We say around £15, and then send it to the Stoke Newington office, and you can address it to me or Vicky, and we'll open that up and make sure it gets allocated to the right people. So, and if you're local, pop in.
Can you just hold that? Sorry, what's that, George? George says, "Don't do this one. Go to his GoFundMe page and donate to that." You're quite clear on that, yeah, George. Not the 1,000 kids that really need it. Yeah, okay. So if you could go to that one, there, it's still open. It'll be open for the next 10 years.
Honestly, that was a heartbreaker this year, wasn't it?
It's the quickest route to kerfuffle profitability.
Yeah.
Look,
to be fair, when does George take over? Because I think we're already now.
I think we're already there. I think him and Mincy have led a little push in the background while I was on the slab. This is amazing. It is great. Obviously, we'd love to back it. People throw any support you can, as small or obviously as large as you possibly can do. Can I be gauche? You're both focused on doing it for the right reason. I've always made the point that it absolutely works hand in glove, doing the right thing with actually what's right for the business as well. And where I get a bit frustrated is that people don't understand that you can still absolutely do the right thing, have a great time doing it, and there's a real halo effect for the business. Can you just location do more than most we've already spoken about out there, just around the year and doing things? How does that, for a business, get its payback if you were looking at it from this very soulless Scrooge-like way?
I think you have to look at it in the incredibly British way that when you give something to somebody, you instantly feel like you need to give it back. And I think that when people see what we do for that community, it's a really natural, when I come to sell my house, when I come to let my house, we get a lot of opportunities because people feel, I don't want to say the word obligated, but I do think that is almost it, that people see our names everywhere. I mean, I spoke to David yesterday. He said, do the other agents in the area just hate you guys? And I was like, do you know what? I don't know. But if I was another agent in the area, I would totally hate us, because it is everywhere. You've got people willing to put our names up. If you'd seen the Halloween trick or eat campaign we did for the food bank, it was obscene, the amount of people that came and gave us food for that food bank. It was incredible. But the reality is, almost every time I've been a part of something, it's always been, oh yeah, so this we value that property. Oh yeah, we're going to put that now on the market. There's always something that comes back from that community.
To be fair, you do so well in your local market. Most of those competitors are probably getting presents for their kids, so it swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, that's true. We're single-handedly saving the children.
I think with these competitors or anybody that says, because there will be members of the public as well that say, oh, look, you guys are plastering yourselves everywhere and you're using this as an opportunity. The challenge is open to them. Well, then, get involved. Do your own bit and get out there.
People by their actions, don't you, rather than words? I mean, look, ultimately, when the Bruce's back famously Agents Together, there's lots of people that critiqued it there. But ultimately, all that actually matters is, did it do good? Did they deliver? And everything else there. And there's plenty of people still today that are getting a huge amount out of stuff like that. So ultimately, you can be as cynically as British as we are, but if they're out there doing it and doing it consistently, there's nothing to talk about, is there?
I think what you have to look at is I look at our team, and one of our core values is that we take care of the community. And when yesterday we had this kids party, most of the people in terms of staff that were there were not actually meant to be working that day. and they were there to support that because it's important to them as well. So for us, that's why it comes out so, so often we get asked about our culture. This comes back to our culture as well, because, if we're all not aligned on it, it doesn't work, does it?
No, absolutely.
So, is there anything else that you wanted to ask Megan about before we release her from her obligations? Because she's got to go and make... Are you having like an alternative Christmas day today?
Yeah, it's Christmas today. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
And I don't know why we always end up doing these. Like I had the last time I was on this, it was Dexter's birthday.
We're
just very consistent.
Like
every day is a special day.
Can I just ask one question? Did Anna Taku get me in the Secret Santa? I did ask specifically for that.
Well, we don't know because you can't talk about Secret Santa because it's secret.
Yeah, but it's me. It's me, isn't it? Okay, good stuff. Can I? Have you literally got to get off now? Have we got a few minutes more?
No, you can have me for 25 more minutes if you want me.
I'd absolutely do. What else has been happening recently? Have you been to any conferences?
Oh yeah, I had a lovely time at EA Masters. Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Look, okay, good stuff. Right, let's get to the elephant in the room, the whale in the room, bigger than an elephant. The neg was interesting again, not least because it was the first conference in 30 years I was sober. Can I tell you guys, it is honestly, God, he's already gone. He's worried.
He's like, I'm out. I'm done.
This industry has got a problem with drink, Megan. It is, there was a lot of people there that were in quite a happy state. The event itself, again, I think, it was obviously a little bit delayed, but everyone's having an absolutely banging time and everything else there. Famously, though, I think the night passed there. Women did absolutely fantastically. It was a really good night. And then the day after, there was the little headline wasn't there, and it was, I'm going to paraphrase, but it was, what was it? Women punch above their weight and win the awards.
Yes.
We had a raging row. I think there was raging rows going around everywhere as people tried to get their heads around whether this was same old neg or they tried to do the right thing and but they had put their foot in it. You, which I loved about you, and I've always loved about you, though, you were absolutely clear and outspoken and vocalizing why you felt there was an issue with it. And to be fair to him as well, Grant jumped on a Zoom with you. Now, this is going to be really awkward if you can't say you can talk about anything. Talk to us how that went.
Which part?
Well, I want to know first, can you talk us through your initial reaction to obviously watching and reading the headline? Because it was very clear. I only found it at about 4 o'clock the morning after and had a lot of fun reading through the stuff. But what did your initial thoughts were? Obviously, you were really, really angry about it, weren't you?
Yeah, I think you have to look at this as a whole picture, though. Like, you can't just look at it as one headline. No. Last year, what happened with the entertainment, actually, I said quite a few times, even to you guys on your podcast, was it wasn't my fight. I wasn't necessarily offended by that. For me, I think I was too, maybe I'd had too much wine and I was just unaware of what was unfolding, perhaps. But for me, it wasn't my fight. But for others, and I fully champion if you are unhappy with something, you should say. So we had that incident, and then halfway through the year we had this article that was saying there is no such thing as a gender pay gap, written by a white middle-aged man, and he basically went on to say there's no reason to believe that, even though we've got a whole government portal that's set up just to report on the gender pay gaps. There's some agencies, some big corporates that's as high as 50%, which is huge. So you can't ignore the facts. That data is given from those companies. So that then happened. So I actually had a really lovely time with the negotiators. I thought the actual daytime conference was fantastic. I said this to Grant. Some of my best takeaways from this conference season came from that day. Genuinely loved what you guys put on, or what David put on. It was brilliant. I've taken so much off of that. Now, evening was, fine, whatever. Yeah, the headline, we got issues with the headline because the headline was not good. It basically said women are achieving higher than we expected. That's what it basically said. And then
it didn't say that, Megan. It did. I've just got to. It didn't. I know that's
the implied headline is what that says.
Okay.
Punching above your weight says you're exceeding like more than you were expected to exceed. That is, if you put in the definition of punching above your weight, that is what it means.
And maybe this is half the problem, because I didn't read. Like, I'm being really honest. I didn't read it like that. It was like when your uncle says something, you know, vaguely dodgy, and you kind of like, oh well, that's just him being like that. I thought they were trying to say the right thing and just delivered in the wrong manner.
But the problem is, though, do you not think that the fact that we had an article that said, oh, well done, girls, smashed it, girls, you go, girl, we don't need that. Like, the point of what we're all fighting for, or what I believe we're all fighting for, is we all want to be compared to, like, for example, if I went up for a big job and I was up against a man, I would want to be treated completely equally. Now, if he got the job because he was better, then great. But if he got the job because, you know, he's not going to go off and have babies, not okay. You know, but equally, I wouldn't want to get the job if I was getting it just purely to tick a box.
No, that's right. That's why I've gone for the whole trans thing, because now I've got a real niche that will get me into most businesses. So that's
this podcast just went straight off the rails. Oh,
that's what this podcast is for, David. That's what. And look, obviously that is true, because when we were presenting the you know, the best newcomer, those wonderful ladies came up, I actually didn't read out the men's company that had won it. I thought, well, I'm going to do my own little thing and read out just some ladies' names. So,
but the problem is,
always had your backs.
It doesn't help, does it? Because, like, for example, you know, and I was really, I sat next to David when they announced at the Women in Estate Agency Awards that the Esters were going to create a best woman or whatever
category of your own.
Yeah, and I literally turned to him and went, this isn't okay. This isn't what we want.
It's
like,
not okay.
I want to beat the boys. I want to be the best estate agent. I don't want to be the best girl.
Yeah, get it entirely. I do get that.
But so, also, that headline, aside from the fact I think it was, you know, it was sexist, whether intentionally or not. It was sexist.
It was, yeah.
Now, the problem is as well, what you've done is you've alienated all the men, because you were like, oh, beaten by the girls. You know, so like it's a balance too. So actually, we had some incredible men win awards that night who absolutely rightly should. We were sat on our table. They won an amazing community award. You know, that is amazing. Why aren't we just celebrating everybody rather than celebrating people with a certain pipe work?
It's a difficult balancing act, though, isn't it, Megan? If you think about that, because obviously you're here to bring you know, to bring that balance and everything else there, and so you're going to obviously logically focus on women's issues and points like that. So to have that, then that flip side, we just want to be treated, you know, normally and everything else. There is a bit of a juxtaposition there, isn't there? It's a difficult balancing act.
Is it?
I was hoping you'd say yeah.
Look, I think. Should I tell you what I think the problem is? Because I'm normally right about these things. Is that I think our industry press, and I'm not having a go at any one of them now. It's all of you together. Unfortunately, it is not. If you had women writing about women's issues in our press, you would get a balanced perspective about what really matters to women, rather than this is a man trying hard to placate his female audience because he realizes that times are changing and we need to do right by people. So people turning up at conferences saying, look, we've created a separate award category. It's helpful, but is it helpful? Would you create a separate award category for Black people? Would you do it for gay people? Oh, look how well the gays have done this year.
I'm here to announce the Kerfuffle today, David. We've got a whole new set of categories.
But the point is, right? The point is, if you're in an industry that needs to address its balance, yes, sometimes it will go out of its way. What do they call it? Affirmative action to make sure that certain things do happen. But in reality, what we're talking about is our press that we have in our industry, our little industry, is it fit for purpose, or is it actually just a glorified PR machine that pumps out adverts and stories about agents that are opening new branches. If that's headline news every week and not the other issue, sorry,
the comings and goings,
the comings and goings in the industry, but all of that sort of stuff, that is where that's really where we could put more emphasis. And I think we all remember with such great fondness for a number of different reasons, but we remember Roz from Property Industry Eye. She was a powerhouse and she could go toe to toe with any man in the industry. She was absolute when it came to sort of borderline investigative journalism. You've been out for dinner with Roz,
I've told
Simon.
you, David, haven't I? I've told you what she is genuinely. She's amazing. I used to think that in my previous guys, I'd take her out for dinner. She's only a little lady, so I thought brilliantly, and she's famously gets squiffy after a couple. So I'd ply her with booze. This isn't a bad story. This isn't the Me Too issue here coming out. And I would then think I'm being really, really clever. I'm dropping in a few little bits of gossip and everything else there. And she's absolutely pie-eyed, and that's perfect. Goes away. The next day, she comes back to me with about 10 different points. I just wanted to get your final sign off on this. It was like, but that was all off the record. No, you didn't say it was off the record. It's like, oh my god!
But because that's real journalism. When you hear somebody say something, even in jest, and you pick up on it and you go, I just want to get into that and unpack it with you. That's proper journalism. And God knows we've got enough issues and enough things affecting our industry so that we can actually talk about it in an open and balanced manner. But when we don't, and when we try and make a point of it, this is where it goes badly wrong. So all that any of the publishers need to do in order to address that balance is over the course of the next year, and it's a free idea to all of them there, just have guest columns from people like Megan, from people like Claire Yates, from people like Sarah Ed, whoever, all these unspoken, outspoken people that you've got your industry groups that are now pushing your agenda. You've got your own conference that is coming up, and you've got WIRP and you've got Women in Estate Agency, and it's great to see so much activity out there. You've got regionals. But get yourselves in the press as well. Get out there and get control of it. And if they handed over those keys, I believe, honestly, we're going to end up at the end of the year in a much more balanced place. And I think it will improve it for everybody.
It was like a Christmas present for the industry, David. Well said.
Yeah.
Actually, that's interesting because that's what I offered to Grant. So what I have said is,
talk us through that then. So obviously,
so we had a really
Megan,
good
did you reach out to him or did he come back to you? How did that happen?
Okay. So I sent him an email and said, look, it would be hypocritical of me to criticize you on social media, but then not offer to have a chat if you want one. I equally said, look, I'm like vapor and spam to you guys. You don't know who I am, but this is my mobile number. Reach out if you do want to do it. And to be fair, he reached out pretty quickly. In fact, I was on the phone to you as he called me, and I was like, oh my God, he actually wants to do this. And yeah, we had a really constructive chat. I listened to what he had to say, and I actually, funny enough, said exactly what David said. And I said, look, if you want a more female tone and you're not necessarily equipped for that, I'll write something. I've got tons of amazing women I can recommend to you on a monthly basis. Come to me. And what I said to him, and he seemed quite receptive to that. And what I have said to him is, ball's totally in your court. I'm not going to chase this. Over to you. If you want this, offers there.
What I do, just riffing off that for a second, what I absolutely refuse to believe is that there's some sort of patriarchal hierarchy controlling the news that is pushing only male agendas, that is out there to get everybody. But I don't believe that. I believe it's ignorance. I believe they've put themselves in this situation.
Oh, you believed in the vaccine, David. You.
Look at me. I had the vaccine. I've now had COVID 6 times in a month.
Yeah,
great. Look at this.
Most people think that's a green screen. That's actually where we've confined him.
I think we talk about the bigger issue on this, and I do have to say it, and it does take a slightly sadder tone to this. But whether it was ignorance, whether it was intentional, whether it was completely in la land, we know that language is so important, because if we don't call out language can become actions, and actions can be very, very, very damaging. Yeah. Now, we all know between us that there's been scenarios with myself where I should have called out language earlier, and the result of that has been absolutely catastrophic. But the point is that now I am fiercely passionate that we should call out language, because if we don't call out language, we are enabling language, bad language. By enabling that, we're then enabling bad behavior. And that comes back to a big thing that I said in the summer of, you know, if people are letting go and, oh, stay away from so-and-so, he's a bit of an octopus, call him out. And this comes back to the men in the room as well. Call them out. And I called out a really close friend and they said, oh yeah, I would definitely call him out. I said, well, no, you've talked about stuff in your office that's happened with, you know, your boss, and you've told me about that, but you've not called them out. And they were like, yeah, you're right. So it all falls back to, if we don't start at the root cause, then the absolute end game of that is not good.
And it takes, just to be clear on this, it takes a staggering amount of bravery to speak up about it, because there is, whether you like it or not, and I don't think you like it, but I think there is this unspoken vibe out there that although women are now more represented, although they have their own groups and they have their own conferences, and we're really sort of making massive progress in a very short amount of time, there is still a sense that if you have commercial interests in this industry and you want to go places, you can say things, but you shouldn't come across as being too, I think the word is aggressive, again, just to put another sort of male attribute into it, or create a toxic environment. If you want to get your points across, let's do it through gritted teeth, smiling, and hopefully we'll get the result that we want. But that doesn't necessarily bring about progress, does it?
No, it doesn't, Dave, because last year, like when it obviously all kicked off originally, the first thing we did, we discussed it on air, we spoke, we tried to be balanced, we invited everybody to come on and actually have a grown-up discussion so we understood it. And actually some of the biggest proponents who had been shouting about it then suddenly, you know, said, and fine, you know, you have that concern and you get that paranoia, but unless people do what you've done there, like, for example, as far as I'm aware last year, the only person I knew who had a direct word with Grant on the night was Heather Stark, who just kind of said, come on, Grant, you know, that's not what, you know, we expect these days. It needs more of that honesty, doesn't it? And I saw, again, hats off to you for actually having the gumption to reach out. And I'll be really honest, I think Grant is a really good guy, and I don't believe for 1 minute that is, you know, was ever his intention. And I'm sure he was mortified as anyone that was obviously how it was received and delivered.
I think that's important to remember as well. Like, you know, and somebody wrote on my LinkedIn post, oh, I hope somebody's sacked over this. And I was like, whoa, like, let's not, like, we don't need to get anyone sacked. We need to have some education. Like, this is what it's all about. But
and it does get out of control, doesn't it, Megan? I mean, that thing you literally, as I said, for some reason, because I'm not bladdered all the time, I woke up at like 4 a.m. and started going through that big thread of yours. And it started off, yes, there was anger in some points and everything, but by the end, it was almost pitchforks. Some of it was getting really out of control there, and it was like,
what I do love is, I don't know who this is, but whoever it is, good morning, I love you. But they did change the headline within an hour. There were a lot of comments about how quickly they reacted to their mistake and put it right. But that's changing a headline isn't the same as not consciously doing it in the first place. Is being more careful than you need to be sometimes when writing about sensitive issues. As I've said, if you were writing an article about LGBTQ plus in our industry or whatever it may be, you would be so careful, wouldn't you? Because you don't get cancelled.
David, after last year's hoo-ha, would you not, hello Sophie Lang, would you not proceed with caution on this? Like, you know, there's somebody, I won't name them, but somebody in the industry that really wants to try and do better will ring me and be like, am I off the mark here? And I'll be like, yeah. Like, you know, there was suppliers that rung me and told me they wanted to put compact mirrors and lipstick in the women in estate agency goodie bags. And I was like, no, don't do it. Like,
Rocky, just go the full. Let's have a kerfuffle tampon.
I literally said that. I was like, you may as well have put branded Tampax in that bag. Like, come on. Like, so the point is that, you know, there are plenty of women that would be more than happy to do that.
Megan, can I just say as well, they got the headline wrong. I think we all know that. What it should have been was women clean up.
Or it should have just been a generic article that said, "How amazing did everybody do at the awards?"
I'm presuming this is Sophie as well. True, they did change it. It showed that they listened, but agree it shouldn't have been written in the first place. Several people must have signed that article off and thought it was okay. So this is a behind the scenes glimpse at our industry press, but I actually don't think there are several people that read those articles before they go live. And I know that very often I think they go out on a very short time frame before they're actually published. And I think it's in a sort of, I mean, Grant might have even told you that himself. Did he not?
To be fair, he did say that it did go, they do get signed off. So it, look, there were mistakes were made. And to be fair to Grant, he held his hand up and said, look, I'm responsible for the negotiator. So I hold my hands up to the mistake. What made me chuckle is, so somebody's pointed out, they changed the headline within an hour. I just want to make 2 points on that. Number one, yes, they did. After the Women in Estate Agency group wrote to them and asked them to look at it. So credit to the Women in Estate Agency group for sorting that.
And they did, by the way, they did this all, without any fuss or noise, did they? They went back direct just to, again, highlight to
They did, yeah. So they went and they approached them and they made that change. So fantastic. But secondly, a lot of people got a lot of grief for the fact that post that I put up stayed up. And I was like, well, I put my post up before they changed the headline. So should I remove my post because they changed their headline? No, what they should have done, and I said this to Grant, is if you guys had sent out a message to say, I'm so sorry, in hindsight, we were totally off the mark. We've changed the headline. Fair enough. But I'm not sorry, but people do have to take responsibility for their actions.
Well, and if you talk about responsibility, what was really illustrative, just to show the size of the problem here again, I won't mention the utter bastard, but the comment in there that he said, you should be speechless because what you have posted is fake. Here is the real headline. And it was absolutely coming from that angle of, just what you talking about, silly women and everything else. It was like, that was, while I was sat there like the Michael Jackson gif eating my popcorn, obviously enjoying the whole thing, that was the moment where even I said, you just not stop digging, mate.
Honestly, that one, the best part about that particular one was I politely sent back a screenshot from the mailer where you could see it. And he then went off and was like,
"Oh, so passive aggressive on that." By the way,
aggressive, and he was like, "Oh, clickbait." I was like, "Okay, thanks very much." I was so close to being like, "You know what? It's clickbait, but cheers for feeding my algorithm because it's really helped."
Just to go back to it, then, this is it. Look, it's still what's clear about this is we're still not through having these conversations. It's still an uneasy conversation to have, not least for the men in the industry, but actually amongst the women themselves. I think you all want the same thing, but in terms of how you go about getting it, I think there's maybe not that much of an agreement on and what behavior is good behavior and who steps out of line. It's an interesting industry discussion to have.
But it's like when you have these views, and let's be honest, coming from the leftist side, the more socially just side, there is a habit for that side, Life of Brian's side, to do the whole splitter routine, isn't it? And although, as you just highlighted, everyone's trying to get to the same place, there can become tremendous friction between the different ways of achieving that. Some will go very aggressive, some will talk about cancel culture, boycotting, others will take the approach, let's talk in the background. The point is that we're all on the same side, and it's about obviously trying to educate and probably not vilify. I mean, there are, as I said, that utter bastard needs vilifying, and I happily will encourage anyone to have a go at him. But the vast majority are just trying to get to the right place.
I think it's important to remember, though, that, you've got famous feminists like Emily Pankhurst who, if she'd been quiet, well, we wouldn't have the...
So you do know that I of course, recruited her great niece. So just to show my...
Look at that. I like you just... It's like we segued that.
Good. Thank you for reading it out.
But the thing is, and this is the point that I've made all along, is the post that I placed, did it say... let's burn down the negotiator, let's do this. I literally went, really? Like, really?
No, you sent that in our WhatsApp, so didn't you?
Oh, absolutely. No, joking aside. But the thing is, like, for decades and decades of years, way before my time, women have been told to be seen and not heard. And unfortunately, that's kind of the root of our issue. Now, For anyone who knows me, knows that if anything, I am overly sensitive and nice to people to my absolute detriment. But if something's wrong, it needs calling out. And I believe that. And I don't believe that needs to be in a bad or angry way. Like, you know, me and Grant had a really lovely discussion. It was great to do that. It didn't need shouting, but it did need that public. But if I hadn't have had that post hit more than the negotiators' readership in terms of engagement. And if that hadn't happened, it probably wouldn't have prompted that discussion.
Can you see how suspicious David is there? Because he hates that about us, Megan, that we are genuinely nice people and we believe in the good.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. I don't believe anyone's genuinely nice. I just don't. No, look, I think. Have you
just seen Sophie?
I've seen that. She brought Grant a present. She sent him flowers and apologized to him.
Split up.
Have you checked in on him to see that he's doing okay?
Honestly, that is the definition of me in that one sentence.
Yeah.
I just think the whole thing.
Dave, have we got a link for the charity appeal, by the way, or can we pop one up?
We will do, yeah. Let's put.
Send it to you.
Yeah, send us the link to the Amazon gift list. And what I might do later is I might have another go at it. I've got Simon's card details stored in my Amazon, and every now and again we keep buying things here at home with Simon's card, which is a business expense.
We got they really came. The industry really sorted out the teenagers. I've got Link's gift sets for like days now. It's amazing. But what we are lacking is that like 1 to 2 age. You know, like the little bubbas. That's what we're really lacking at the moment. So if you need any direction, and if anybody wants to buy some of the girls this year a Fisher Price little journalist kit, it'd be much needed.
I've got a collection of little shoes here, so I can help out.
You know what? The best one I read was there was a little girl that asked for a Dr. Barbie. I was like, that girl needs a Dr. Barbie. She needs that representation.
Sponsor her through college. And
honestly, that girl's going to be a doctor. I'm confident of it.
Amazing stuff.
Right, we will post those links as and when they arrive.
I'll WhatsApp them to you now. I have to go and celebrate Christmas, and so thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to. I think you're planning to try and do a podcast with the Women in the Estate Agency, so looking forward to listening to that as well.
So of course we've signed up. As I said, when I was on the slab, David signed up to the Women in the Estate Agency conference. So everybody needs to get involved with that as much as they possibly can do. Not because, as we said, it is an affirmative action, I think, because it was genuinely one of the best and most different events of last year. And I absolutely know it's going to be even bigger and better this year. And by sponsoring, they can't block me.
That's a challenge issue to the Women in the Estate Agency this week.
You still can't come in the group, Simon. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but anyway, I hope everyone has a lovely Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, David, and you guys have a great day.
You have a lovely day, and David, I love you. Will this be a series of one, or are we going to carry on?
We're going to say goodbye to Megan. Goodbye, Megan. Have a merry festive one. She's gone. She's out here now that she's gone.
Thank God for that.
Can I ask you one other question whilst I've still got you? Are we allowed to talk about the Repit story?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So
clearly, I mean, you've got two massive powerhouses there. You've got PayProp, who are, again, international. Yeah. You've got Repit, who are international, coming together. What does it mean for the rest of us? What will it mean for the customers? Where is the advantage to I mean, because you're in that space. So tell us all about it.
You're in that space as well, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It was when it went under the radar a little bit. I mean, I think this merger of it bringing together, as they talk about, whatever acquisition, whatever else, it is two massive ones. If you look at it being complementary, the automated clearly Repit have their own accounts package, but that tends to be for larger businesses that have the time. So to have that PayProp ability to roll out will, I think, revolutionise their ability to deliver on the smaller end of the market, 1 to 5 office agents that traditionally they haven't done much with. Very robust solution, obviously, there with PayProp. And so I think you'll see a big push there. I think from a geographical point of view, PaperUp's got obviously it's big over here, but it's got obviously South Africa where it started. It's got the US, both places where Repeat doesn't do anything currently, and Repeat's obviously massive in Australia, so you're going to be able to see PaperUp piggyback there. So from that kind of point of view, being able to roll out complementary services and the geography, it's all looking very good for them. On top of that, they've always got some very good people together, and I just think those tectonic plates in terms of mergers and acquisitions are starting to. That was the first big deal again, wasn't it? Now I predict it's not going to be the last. Things are picking up again, which hopefully is a good sign that confidence is recovering all around the place.
And do you think you get to sort of merger because both companies look at you look at your innovation pipeline, don't you, of how you can sort of evolve your product? Do you get to a point where you think, well, sod this, we can't do any more, but let's try and bring two things together? Or is it just an...
I think one of the things that's interesting, isn't it, is CRMs have a real difficulty. This is where it's hats off to the likes of a Spectre or the new players a Street, they get confused by the different brand names, of coming together and obviously starting afresh. Because to do what we used to do 15, 20 years ago, all you needed to upload was to a right move and do a property match and do letters. These days, they are genuinely, CRM systems and everything else. So that's a great thing that it becomes the foundation of your tech stack. The challenge becomes, maybe you will become just a specialist in generalism. You're not able to, do justice to all the individual areas. Classic case in point, our mate Christian Byfield in the depository area, the subsequent around to home flow. Lots of these proptech 3.0, as I talk it, agents doing it for themselves. Did it because actually they like Repeat, but it wasn't doing enough in a specific area. End of tenancy, obviously, a process for depository. So I think they love this kind of approach of, first of all, being able to partner through things like foundations, then doing a bit of an apple and looking at those companies that do really well and buy them and build them into their tech stack. And that then frees them up to probably concentrate on some of the rest of the core activities. So for the consumer, that opening up of data, and I know it's still slow. I know people like to say there are open A's and everything else, but it's not where a lot of the smaller suppliers still wanted to be, all the agents. I still predict a very exciting time over the next few years as you're finally going to be able to have that proper joined up tech platform and tech stack that you're looking for.
And it's inevitable, isn't it, that you're going to get more sort of M&A activity where you've got so much fierce competition within these little pockets of the industry. I mean, very often AML at the moment, you turn your head, there's a solution everywhere, but eventually somebody's going to walk into that, sweep up the others, because it just won't make sense for us to have. We don't need 60 of them, but we need, maybe a handful.
It always happens at the beginning, doesn't it? There's an explosion of tech often in a particular area, and then they rationalize, some go out of business, but a lot of them acquire and merge and whatever else. And I think just going back to CRM, of course, is what's good news there for those independents, that scarcity factor, a bit like it's happening with the agents, to be honest. Look how few, no, not how few, but how few in comparison, mid-sized agents there are now compared to literally just where they were 3 to 5 years ago. Largely, all of the corporate activity has been acquiring those up. And so in CRM, you've got Desres Street, some of the last few independents, Agents OS and everything else. That scarcity value, again, is going to, you would imagine, keep or increase that multiplier at a stage when they're due to exit.
Interesting stuff. Watch this space for more to come.
Just on the last one. So the other news is, as I said in my post, it's a bit like London buses, but I do think they've appointed Steve Richmond over from LSL, who, again, I think what gets a bit frustrating for a lot of agents is that you tend to see what they would claim as, faceless, people coming from the equity side of it. They've gone really doubled down though and got somebody from the industry, already a Repeat client from LSL, who will live and breathe and know what the challenges are from that side of things. And so I suspect, I know he's not due to start just yet, but again, that could be quite interesting to see what's happening. And I hear on the jungle drums, most of them which I spread, that there's some even more exciting stuff in the mix on that side. So it's very much a watch that space.
Interesting stuff. What have you got on this week, Whaley?
I'm off to, funny enough, I'm off to Brussels, so I'm very much enjoying that. So, first football trip away that I've done drinking peppermint tea, but that's the new me, isn't it? As you say.
Well, we're all very impressed with the progress that you've made, and I know the Weatherspoons have issued. Sorry.
It's better than the alternative, is what I always say.
Yeah, it is. It is. Right, those links for the Winter Toy Appeal are up on your screen at the moment, and they're in the comments. Thank you to everyone that's joined us today. Thank you to Mr. Simon Whale for making it back.
Mr. Nance. Love you, fella. Bye-bye.
Stay alive, everybody. Stay alive.
Stay alive.
That's my new sign-off. Can everybody just avoid getting cancer again this week? Thank you.